How do we really know that there is the possibility to end suffering rather than just believe it? Actually, it's fairly simple, really. In the time of your reflections here, in your meditations, you may have remembered perhaps a time in your life which was painful and difficult, and troublesome, for all the ways that it could be. And you've looked at that painful, distressing period. You've come to an understanding about it. You haven't denied it, you haven't avoided it, you didn't repress it or suppress it, you looked at it. And you've realized that some change, perhaps a change of attitude, or a change of perception or view or way of relating to it, really was important. Perhaps another or others helped you, or meditations or whatever was the resource for you. And you know it is over. You knew that you suffered over it. You knew it was really distressing for you. You've reflected, you've meditated, you've shared, you've opened your heart to others about it. And you know the suffering's over, and you know it because you can look back over that event. That could be recent or decades ago from your very early childhood, if not before. And you can look back over it and say, well, the suffering over this has now stopped. It just doesn't arise anymore. I can look back as it was, and I'm no longer any suffering over. It's not a belief. You know it. If we can know it over a specific period in our life of some really tough, difficult issues which faced us, and now they're finished and you can look back over it, why not over any level of suffering? If one can see it with one can see it with all. Because it's the same sort of situations of causes and conditions which contribute. And therefore, the teachings of the complete resolution of human suffering is our potential. Sometimes, of course, with the body and issues with the body, of course, that may have to flow on there, but there doesn't have to be suffering over. And in the absence of that, when the Buddha was asked, those who know the end of suffering, or who very rarely experience it, what do those people have in common? And he says, those who have realized the end of suffering, or nearly all of suffering, all have one deep thing in common, and that is empathy for others. Feel a deep empathy for others.